The United States Supreme Court has just approved the first execution by nitrogen. In 1996, Kenneth Smith was convicted of the 1998 murder for hire plot of a reverend's wife. The jury sentenced him to life in prison. In a rarely seen move, the judge overturned that decision and sentenced him to death. The first attempt to execute Mr. Smith in 2022 failed because executioners basically couldn't find the vein, couldn't find a place to put the needle in his arm. After 2 hours of trying, the warrant for his execution expired and they had to stop. It was after this that the defendant himself requested death by nitrogen gas. According to a district court judge, he did this to prolong his life because the state would have to come up with the protocols and procedure to carry out death in this manner. But it didn't really work in his favor. Smith argued in the federal courts that even though he was the one to request this manner of death, that it would add unnecessary pain to the procedure and therefore was in violation of the Eighth Amendment, cruel and unusual punishment. The district court denied that motion and said, "You're just trying to stall. We're on to you. Nope, you asked for it, you're gonna get it." He appealed that ruling to the Court of Appeals, and the Court of Appeals stayed his execution to allow the Supreme Court to hear the case. The Supreme Court heard the case, and there were no dissents. Nobody stepped in to stop this from happening, and therefore it will happen. There are two things that are very interesting about this case, and the first one is that they've never done this before. Nobody has died by nitrogen gas yet, so they don't know what's going to happen. But most people will agree that starving yourself of oxygen and infiltrating your system with nitrogen gas is going to be painful. Very painful. The second interesting thing about this case is that if Mr. Smith were sentenced today in 2024, he would not be given the death penalty. He would have gotten a life sentence. The jury who sentenced him to life was not unanimous, and jury overrides by a judge were outlawed in Alabama in 2017. So he wouldn't even be facing death if he were sentenced today, and now he's going to go out in a very, very likely painful way.